The courtroom was heavy with silence as the gavel struck, sealing the verdict. Evelyn's chest tightened, her fingers digging into the wood of the bench. The man accused of murdering Sarah stood calm, his lips curled in faint triumph. "Am I?" Marcus leaned closer, whispering, "Justice has slipped away tonight." Evelyn's throat burned with the need to scream, but she stayed silent, her eyes fixed on Victor, whose unreadable smile seemed to taunt her pain. Daniel slammed his notebook shut, muttering, "They just let a killer walk." Clara kept her composure, her hand gently resting on Evelyn's arm, steady but cold. Outside, rain tapped against the windows, echoing the despair inside. For Evelyn, the echo of the gavel was not closure, but a wound reopened. A reminder that Sarah's voice would remain buried under lies. Outside the courthouse, the storm raged louder than the voices of the defeated. Evelyn stepped onto the wet pavement, her reflection fractured in the puddles. Marcus caught up, saying, "We can't let this end here." Daniel kicked at a loose stone, his anger sharp. "They played us." Evidence vanished. Clara pulled her coat tight, her calm voice cutting through the rain. "We gather again. We rebuild." Victor exited with an umbrella, his confident stride unbothered by the storm. Evelyn's chest heaved as memories of Sarah's laughter flickered in her mind. She whispered, "Her story can't end with silence." The thunder seemed to answer, rolling across the night sky. In the cramped diner across the street, the air smelled of coffee and despair. Evelyn stared into her untouched cup, steam swirling like fading hope. Marcus leaned forward, his voice low. "We need to trace what disappeared." Daniel interrupted, "You mean what they buried?" Clara kept her steady tone. "We have to be cautious or we lose more than the case." The storm outside beat against the windows, but inside, the quiet war began. Evelyn gripped Sarah's photograph, her silent vow burning. The storm eased, but the unease inside Evelyn grew sharper. She traced Sarah's face on the photograph. Marcus broke the silence. Someone erased evidence. Daniel's tone cut like glass, and someone helped them. Clara's eyes shifted, calm but unreadable. Evelyn spoke, her voice low. "Victor knew. He watched me the entire trial." Marcus replied, "Then Victor's the thread we pull first." Outside, a neon sign flickered, sputtering light like a dying heartbeat. Evelyn stepped outside for air. The rain now a soft drizzle. She whispered to the night, "Sarah, I won't stop." A car passed, headlights briefly blinding. Marcus joined, his presence grounding her. "We'll find the crack." Daniel appeared at the door, frustration sparking. "We don't have time." Clara stayed inside, her silhouette steady in the window. Evelyn clenched her jaw, knowing this was only the beginning of a darker path. The night seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the next move. The diner's lights flickered as Evelyn pulled Sarah's photograph closer, her eyes stinging. Marcus whispered, "You carry her in every breath." Daniel tapped the table, restless. "We can't fight shadows." Clara folded her hands, her calm gaze steady. Sarah was more than a case. She was family. Evelyn's voice trembled. "She was laughter, late-night talks, and the only one who saw me when I felt invisible." Marcus reached across, grounding her, while Daniel looked away, unable to meet her pain. Outside, the storm quieted, leaving behind only the distant hum of passing cars. Inside, grief fused them together, making resolve stronger. Evelyn's memories carried her to Sarah's old apartment. The hallway smelled of dust and old paint. She paused at the door, whispering. This was her world. Marcus unlocked it gently, as though afraid to disturb her ghost. Inside, dust motes floated in pale light. Daniel kicked a chair, muttering, "Feels like time stopped." Clara walked silently, touching a photo frame with reverence. Evelyn traced Sarah's handwriting on a note left behind, her chest heavy. She said, "Her voice lingers in every corner." Marcus placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then, let it guide us." They gathered around Sarah's belongings spread across the floor. Evelyn unfolded a journal, reading lines of her sister's dreams. She wanted to be free, she whispered. Daniel leaned in, sharp eyes scanning pages. And someone didn't let her. Marcus's voice broke the silence. We'll honor her by chasing truth. Clara sifted through letters, her calm tone hiding unease. There's something missing. Evelyn's hand trembled as she discovered a torn page. She whispered. She knew someone was watching. The room chilled as if Sarah's absence pulled shadows closer. Later that night, Evelyn stood on the apartment balcony, city lights stretching beneath a gray sky. Marcus joined her, quiet. You keep carrying everyone's grief. Evelyn's eyes stayed fixed on the skyline. If I stop, she disappears. Marcus said softly, she's in you, not just in memory. Inside, Daniel's voice rose. We need action, not comfort. Clara countered, calm but firm. Anger without direction is wasted. Evelyn gripped the railing, her voice sharp. Sarah trusted us to live, and I won't let silence bury her twice. They regrouped at Marcus's apartment, maps and files spread across the table. Evelyn drew circles around Victor's connections, her hand steady with fury. Daniel muttered, every path leads back to him. Clara added, but power like his doesn't fall without consequence. Marcus poured coffee, exhaustion clear, but resolve unshaken. Then we'll face consequences together. Evelyn's voice hardened. Sarah's silence, screams louder than his lies. The room grew heavy with shared purpose. They knew the battle would not be fair, but it had already begun. The night was heavy with tension as Evelyn spread files across the table, her hands steady, but her eyes storming. Daniel paced, muttering, every lead disappears. Marcus rubbed his temples, voice tired yet firm. Someone inside the system is feeding him protection. Clara flipped a folder, her calm tone unsettling. That someone isn't just helping him. They're erasing truth. Evelyn's jaw tightened. Victor walks untouched because someone close holds the pen. Daniel froze, glare sharp. Then who among us can we trust? Silence followed, each one trapped in their private suspicion. The air weighed down with unspoken fear. The group split to chase new leads. Evelyn drove through rain-slicked streets, headlights slicing the dark. Her voice was low as she replayed Sarah's journal words. She feared someone watching. Marcus stayed behind, calling old contacts, his tone steady but urgent. Daniel rode his bike, following whispers near the alley Sarah once visited, determination burning in his eyes. Clara sat quietly in archives, flipping papers as if time itself would yield secrets. Each moved separately, yet every step drew them deeper into shadows Victor controlled, a web pulling tighter with every breath. Daniel found graffiti etched on the alley wall, a symbol Sarah had once sketched in her journal. He snapped a picture, muttering, she was here. A shadow shifted nearby, and his breath caught. Meanwhile, Evelyn met Marcus at a diner, sliding Sarah's torn journal page across the table. This matches what Daniel just found. Marcus's brows furrowed. It's not random, it's a trail. Clara entered quietly, placing an old file down. And it leads to Victor's estate. The three exchanged looks, the weight of danger pressing down, the symbol burning in memory like a warning. They drove together toward Victor's gated estate, the road lined with shadows. Evelyn's grip on the wheel was iron tight. Every step feels like walking into his world. Marcus's voice was low. Because it is. Daniel leaned forward in the back seat, eyes burning. Then, let's tear it apart. Clara stayed composed, her gaze fixed on the road. Recklessness will bury us. We need patience. Evelyn pressed harder on the gas, her determination outweighing fear. The mansion loomed ahead, lights glowing like watchful eyes, the storm clouds parting only enough to reveal danger in plain sight. The estate towered over them, its iron gates creaking under the weight of secrets. Evelyn whispered, Sarah feared this place. Marcus studied the guards, steady voice cutting through. We can't rush. One mistake, and we're done. Daniel hissed, then how do we ever act? Clara scanned the perimeter, her tone calm but sharp. We watch, we wait, and we learn his patterns. Evelyn's chest rose with heavy breath, every memory of Sarah pushing her forward. We don't wait forever. The wind whipped through the trees, carrying a chill that promised darker battles ahead. The team watched Victor's estate from the shadows, tension drawing every breath tight. Evelyn whispered, "He built this fortress with lies." Marcus adjusted his binoculars, voice low. "And power shields him." Daniel crouched impatiently. "We need inside." Clara's calm tone cut through. "Not without knowing who feeds him." A guard passed by, flashlight beams sweeping dangerously close. Evelyn's hand clenched Sarah's photograph in her pocket. Her silence is louder than his walls. The estate lights flickered as if mocking them, and for the first time doubt crept into their unity like an unseen crack. Inside the diner later, the tension erupted. Daniel slammed the table, voice sharp. "Someone among us is feeding him." Evelyn froze, anger rising. "Don't you dare." Marcus tried to steady them. "This is what he wants." Clara's expression remained unreadable, her voice quiet but cutting. "Daniel isn't wrong. Information disappears before we move." Evelyn's fists shook. "You think it's me?" Silence stretched, and the bonds between them quivered. Marcus whispered, "If trust breaks, we're finished." Outside, neon lights flickered, bathing them in fractured color like the fracture now splintering their resolve. Evelyn stormed out into the rain, Sarah's photograph pressed against her chest. "I won't be doubted," she muttered, tears hidden in the downpour. Marcus followed, his voice firm but gentle. "Don't let anger blind you." She turned, eyes blazing. "It's not anger, it's betrayal." Meanwhile, inside, Daniel whispered to Clara, suspicion laced in every word. "You knew files were missing before we even checked." Clara's gaze stayed steady, her silence louder than denial. Outside, Evelyn whispered to Sarah's memory, "They're breaking us apart." Lightning tore the sky, echoing the fracture now splitting their fragile alliance. They regrouped at Marcus's apartment, tension thick like smoke. Evelyn spread the torn journal page across the table. Sarah feared someone close. Daniel muttered, "Sounds familiar." Clara's eyes narrowed slightly. "Her words don't name anyone." Marcus tried to keep steady. "We need proof, not suspicion." Evelyn slammed her palm down. "Proof dies in shadows while he walks free." Clara's calm tone sharpened. "And rage only feeds him." Daniel leaned back, glare fixed. "Then maybe rage is all we have left." The silence that followed was heavier than any storm, trust bleeding out slowly. The twist struck when Clara left the room briefly, and Daniel followed. He returned moments later, eyes wild. "Her phone." She erased messages. Evelyn's breath caught. "You're certain?" Marcus's voice was heavy, the weight of betrayal sinking in. "If Clara hides things, then everything falls apart." Evelyn whispered. Sarah trusted her, and so did I. The door creaked as Clara stepped back in, calm as ever, eyes unflinching. "If you're hunting for a traitor, maybe you should start with the mirror." The air froze, the first true fracture now revealed, and nothing would ever be the same. The storm had passed, but the tension inside Marcus's apartment was unrelenting. Evelyn stood in the center, her fists trembling. "We've been bleeding trust while Victor feasts." Daniel's voice cracked with fury. Clara erased messages. Marcus raised his hand, trying to steady the chaos. "We cannot fall apart now." Clara's eyes were unwavering, her tone sharp. "You accuse without proof, and he wins every time." Evelyn's voice burned. "Sarah trusted you." The silence that followed was suffocating, broken only by Evelyn's vow. "If truth costs everything, then so be it." The group split under pressure. Evelyn stormed outside, rain puddles glistening under street lamps. Marcus followed, his voice low. "If we fracture, he wins." She turned, pain flashing in her eyes. "He already has." Inside, Daniel's glare pinned Clara. You erased the trail. Clara leaned closer, whispering, "Be careful what you think you know." Daniel's breath caught, unease slipping beneath his rage. Evelyn whispered into the night, "Sarah, guide me." The city answered with silence, broken only by the hum of distant traffic, each sound a reminder that time was running out. At dawn they gathered outside Victor's estate. The iron gates loomed like jaws ready to snap. Evelyn's voice was steady. "This is where it ends." Marcus adjusted his coat, firm but cautious. "We don't leave without answers." Daniel clenched his fists, muttering, "Or without justice." Clara's calm tone carried ice. "Justice is never free." Evelyn glanced at Sarah's photograph one last time, whispering, "For you." The gates creaked open slowly, as if daring them inside. Their breaths sensed, not in harmony but in shared resolve, knowing the path forward would tear them apart or bind them forever. Inside the grand hall, Victor waited with quiet authority, his smirk like a blade. "I wondered when grief would drag you here." Evelyn stepped forward, voice unwavering. "You silenced Sarah." Marcus's tone sharpened. "And twisted the system to protect yourself." Daniel shouted, "You're nothing without your puppets." Victor's eyes flicked toward Clara. "Some puppets cut their own strings." Silence cracked like glass. Evelyn's breath caught, realization striking. Clara's calm face revealed nothing, but her silence roared louder than denial. Betrayal had a face, and it was standing beside them. The confrontation shattered into chaos. Evelyn lunged forward, her voice breaking. "You'll never bury her truth." Marcus restrained her, his grip firm. "Not like this." Daniel's fury erupted, slamming fists against Victor's desk. "She deserved life." Victor's calm smirk only deepened. "And you'll never prove otherwise." Clara finally spoke, voice like steel. "Sometimes survival is choosing the stronger side." Evelyn's eyes filled with fire. "Then I'll burn your side to ash." The hall echoed with the sound of her vow, louder than thunder, more dangerous than silence. The night after the confrontation, the group splintered in silence. Evelyn sat alone in Marcus' apartment, Sarah's photo trembling in her hands. Marcus broke the quiet. "You can't fight alone." She looked up, voice raw. "Then why do I feel abandoned?" Daniel leaned against the wall, anger dimmed into despair. "Because truth costs more than we imagined." Clara stood by the door, her calmness unnerving. "Truth is fragile. It shatters when pushed too hard." Evelyn's chest rose with sharp breath. "Then let it shatter. I'll bleed with it if I must." The room grew heavy with fractured loyalty. By dawn, Evelyn walked alone through the city streets, the world waking around her. Rainwater glistened on sidewalks, neon signs flickering out. She whispered, "Sarah, I carry you." Her reflection blurred in every puddle, fractured but unbroken. Behind her, Marcus caught up, his voice firm. "You don't leave us behind." She turned sharply, pain still etched in her eyes. "Then prove it." He placed a file in her hand. "I pulled something before they buried it." The torn piece of evidence glowed faintly in early sunlight, a fragile spark against the weight of despair. They gathered once more, the fragile evidence on the table between them. Daniel's eyes widened. "This connects Victor to Sarah the night she vanished." Clara's face stayed unreadable, her calm voice unsettling. "It won't hold in court." Evelyn snapped back. "It's enough to tear his mask." Marcus nodded slowly. "It's not about the trial anymore. It's about exposing truth." Daniel's fists clenched. "Then we hit him where his power can't cover." Evelyn's breath steadied as fire returned to her gaze. "Then we finish what Sarah started." Hope flickered in their fractured circle, fragile but alive. That evening, they returned to the estate's perimeter, each step carrying the weight of finality. Evelyn's voice was steel. "We go until he cracks." Marcus whispered, "Careful. Every shadow here watches." Daniel's glare sharpened. Then let them see. Clara adjusted her coat, tone steady. You mistake vengeance for justice. Evelyn turned sharply. No, I carry Sarah, and Sarah demands more than silence. The mansion's lights flared brighter, as though Victor already knew. Their unity was fragile, their mission reckless, but their resolve burned stronger than fear. Inside the estate, Victor awaited, sipping wine with calculated ease. You never learn. Evelyn stepped forward, holding the evidence aloft. This ends with your mask torn. His smirk deepened. Truth bends to power. Marcus's voice was iron. Not forever. Daniel shouted. We'll drag you down. Clara's silence pressed heavy, her eyes shifting only slightly. Evelyn's voice broke the air like thunder. Sarah is not forgotten, and neither are your sins. For the first time, Victor's smirk faltered. Justice had not yet triumphed, but the balance had shifted, and the war was no longer his alone. The storm had lifted, but unease still hung in the air. Evelyn stood outside the estate, the evidence clenched in her hand. Marcus whispered, We made him falter. Daniel muttered bitterly, but he's still free. Clara's gaze lingered on the gates, calm and unreadable. Evelyn's voice cracked. Sarah deserved more than faltering. The wind rustled through the trees, carrying whispers that felt like Sarah's laughter, faint and fleeting. Marcus said softly, This is not the end. Evelyn closed her eyes, her jaw set. No, this is just the beginning. The weight of that truth pressed heavier than the night itself. Back at the diner, the table was quiet, coffee untouched. Evelyn stared at the steam, whispering, Sarah's gone. And he walks free. Marcus leaned forward. But cracks are showing. They grow. Daniel snapped. We can't live on cracks. Clara's eyes glimmered with something hidden as she murmured, Sometimes cracks bring the walls down. Evelyn's fingers trembled around Sarah's photograph. Her story won't be buried again. The neon sign outside buzzed and flickered, casting red and blue across their faces, fractured light reflecting their fractured truth. Evelyn walked alone to the place where Sarah once laughed, the park bench beneath an oak tree. She traced the carved initials in the wood, whispering, I carry you still. Daniel appeared from the shadows, holding his sketchbook. I drew her here once, he said softly. Marcus approached, placing a steady hand on Evelyn's shoulder. She's with us in every step. Clara stood at a distance, her silhouette unreadable in the fading light. Evelyn lifted her face to the sky. Her voice will not die in silence. The wind stirred, scattering leaves like fragments of memory. That night, Evelyn returned to her apartment, laying Sarah's photo on the desk beside the sealed letter she had never opened. Her hands shook as she touched the envelope. Marcus's voice echoed in memory. Some truths break you. Daniel's words followed, but silence destroys you. Clara's calm tone lingered last. Not all truths are meant to be freed. Evelyn's breath caught as she slid her finger across the seal. For a moment, the room felt colder, as though Sarah herself hovered there, waiting for her voice to finally be heard again. Evelyn opened the letter, her breath halting, as her eyes scanned the words Sarah had left. The ink spoke of fear, betrayal, and a name. Her lips parted, whispering, It was never Victor alone. Tears welled as the letter slipped from her grasp. Marcus entered quietly, asking, What did it say? Evelyn's voice was hollow. The enemy sits closer than we thought. The silence that followed was chilling, broken only by the rustle of the paper on the floor. Sarah's truth had not ended the story. It had only carved a deeper wound, one that would never fully heal.